That turns pocket change into a golden ticket to your dream lifestyle. Let me ask you something. Have you ever dug around in your old change jar, maybe searching for enough coins to buy a cup of gas station coffee, and thought, what if one of these pennies was secretly worth $1 million? Well, buckle up, because today we're going to talk about a humble little coin that might just be hiding in your kitchen junk drawer right now. I'm talking about the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. That's right, a 1-cent coin minted back when bell-bottoms were still fighting for survival, and disco was trying desperately not to die. This unassuming copper-plated cent could be worth as much as $1.60 million. You heard me correctly. $1.6 million. Enough to buy a fleet of RVs, pay off your house, or just roll around in a mountain of cash like Scrooge McDuck. So grab a cup of coffee, maybe pull out your piggy bank, and stick with me as we explore why this 1979 penny is worth a fortune, what makes it so rare, and how you can spot one yourself. I'm also going to share a personal story about the time I thought I'd found a rare penny and ended up getting laughed out of a coin shop. Alright, first things first, let's talk about what exactly makes a 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny potentially worth $1.6 million. Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, come on, it's just a penny. What could possibly make it so valuable? Well, let's set the stage. In 1979, the US Mint was churning out billions, literally billions, of Lincoln pennies. Most of them were business strikes, made for circulation, and they were produced at multiple mints. Now, coins made in Philadelphia didn't get a mint mark. So technically, all Philadelphia pennies have no mint mark. But here's where things get interesting. A very small number of 1979 pennies ended up with extraordinary errors or ultra-high-grade qualities. Double dies, especially on the obverse, where you see doubling on Lincoln's date or LIBRTY proof-like finishes that somehow made it onto circulation coins. Rare planchet errors. And here's the kicker. One of these specimens, authenticated by leading grading services and in virtually perfect condition, crossed the auction block with a final hammer price that left everyone in the room speechless. I know, it sounds wild. But rare coins are like fine art. When the right collector wants it badly enough, the price goes through the roof. Now, let's break down some of the specific features that could make your penny worth a fortune. You've probably seen a coin that was struck off-center or looks like it melted a little. While minor errors might fetch you lunch money, major ones, like a 50% off-center strike combined with a double die, are lottery ticket rare. Even if your penny looks normal, if it has absolutely no wear, no scratches, a blazing red luster, and the sharpest details imaginable, it might qualify as MS68 or higher. That's coin nerd speak. For so pristine it looks like it came off the press yesterday. Occasionally, a penny was struck on a planchet meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. Imagine finding a penny the size of a dime but with Lincoln's face on it. That's the stuff of numismatic dreams. Now, before you run to your sock drawer, let me share a quick story to keep things real. About 10 years ago, I was convinced I'd struck it rich. I'd found a 1979 penny that looked weirdly shiny. So I did what any overexcited amateur would do. I spent 2 hours with a magnifying glass, convinced I saw doubling in the date. My hands were shaking as I drove to a local coin dealer, sure I was about to retire early. I plopped the penny down on the counter, the dealer picked it up, squinted, and then he chuckled. He said, "Buddy, that's just a regular penny somebody polished with Brasso." Turns out, the only thing rare about that penny was how clean it was. Always get an expert opinion before you start pricing yachts. Let's keep going with what you need to know: how to spot a valuable 1979 no-mint mark penny. Look for doubling. Focus on Liberty, the date, and in God we trust. Use a 10x magnifier if you can. Check the surfaces. $1 million penny will be nearly flawless. If it looks worn down, sorry, it's likely only worth a cent. Weigh it. A standard penny weighs about 3.11 grams. If yours is significantly different, you might have a wrong planchet error. Get it graded. I cannot stress this enough: grading by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC is the difference between a penny and a jackpot. To understand the fascination, you have to know collectors are driven by rarity, condition, and the thrill of the hunt. A high-grade 1979 no-mint mark penny checks all those boxes. It's basically the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents, and it's not just old retirees or history buffs hunting these down. There are young collectors and even big investors who buy these coins as alternative assets. Let's say you get lucky. You find a pristine 1979 penny with no mint mark, no scratches, and maybe even a rare error. Don't clean it. Ever put it in a protective holder, get professional authentication, contact a major auction house, start practicing your happy dance. It's truly life-changing money, and it all starts with a coin most folks wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk. Tips for building your penny hunting skills: always check your change. Even bankrolls can hide treasures. Learn about errors and varieties. Knowledge is everything. Invest in a good magnifying glass and a scale. Keep your finds organized. Join online collector forums to stay up to date. Let me tell you, there is no feeling quite like the moment you realize you're holding something worth more than most people's annual salary. Not all old pennies are valuable. Age helps, but condition and rarity matter more. Just because a penny has no mint mark doesn't mean it's worth millions. Most are ordinary. Cleaning coins destroys value. Resist the urge. Well, it starts with curiosity and a little patience. You don't need to be a millionaire to start, just start paying attention to the coins you touch every day. You never know which one will be your golden ticket. Alright, folks, that's the full scoop on the 1979 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny and why it can be worth as much as $1.6 million. We've covered what makes it rare, how to spot it, and what to do if you find one. I hope you enjoyed this ride through numismatic treasure hunting as much as I enjoyed sharing it. And remember, the next time someone tries to hand you change, don't be too quick to toss that penny in your cup holder. You might just be holding your first million. If you found this video helpful, funny, or just plain interesting, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button so you never miss another tip about coins worth big money. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when I drop the next video. If you have a story about a coin you thought was valuable, or maybe one you actually sold for a big payday, share it down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Keep your eyes open, your change jars full, and your dreams big. Hey there, coin hunters, treasure seekers, and folks who just can't resist peeking under the couch cushions hoping to find a little piece of history. Today, I've got something that will make you rethink every single penny you've ever handed over for a cup of coffee. Imagine this: you're standing in line, jangling a few copper coins in your pocket, and one of them is actually worth a cool $1.7 million. That's right, one single 1967 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny could buy you the house of your dreams, a classic car collection, and enough pizza to last you a lifetime. So grab your coin jars, your magnifying glass, and maybe a cold drink, because we're going deep into the story, the value, and the secrets behind this $1 million penny. And stick around, because at the end I'm going to share one of my own pretty embarrassing penny stories, so you can laugh at my expense. Let's dive in. In 1967, the United States Mint was still dealing with the aftermath of a coin shortage that started in the early 60s. They were cranking out coins left and right, no time to add mint marks on the pennies. So every 1967 penny you see will be missing that tiny D or S. This coin features the classic Lincoln Memorial design on the back, complete with those little columns you probably never bothered to look at closely. Flip it over, and you've got Abraham Lincoln's distinguished face staring back at you with that look that says, "You really should have saved me." The composition was 95% copper and 5% zinc. Back then, nobody thought twice about tossing these pennies into vending machines, lunch counters, or the bottom of their piggy banks. Most 1967 pennies are worth a cent, maybe a few bucks in uncirculated condition. So how does one go from being a humble coin to becoming a millionaire's collectible? A combination of pristine condition, rare striking errors, and collector demand. Some 1967 pennies were struck on experimental planchets or ended up with striking mistakes, off-center designs, double dies, or misaligned edges. And when you have a flawless, uncirculated example with an error that makes it one of a kind, that's when the big auction houses start calling. Two collectors battling it out over the phone, each determined to own this oddball little copper disc. The bidding climbs and climbs until someone finally slams down that gavel at $1.7 million. If you think you might have one of these hidden treasures, you can't just squint at it under a lamp and declare yourself rich. You need to get it graded. Professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC will assign your penny a grade based on condition, strike quality, and luster. A perfect MS-70 grade, that's mint state, basically flawless, could mean your penny is worth more than a Ferrari. Most 1967 pennies have been through the ringer, bouncing around pockets, cash registers, and maybe even your washing machine. The odds are low, but hey, someone has to find the lucky one. Recent auctions have seen premium examples of 1967 Lincoln pennies with unique errors selling for tens of thousands, and one confirmed case of an experimental planchet version fetching that whopping $1.7 million. That's the equivalent of 170 million ordinary pennies. Collectors are obsessed with these high-grade rarities because they're nearly impossible to find. The market keeps climbing, driven by folks who love the thrill of owning something nobody else can get their hands on. Dig out any old jars of coins you've been ignoring. Check your grandparents' collections. Seriously, they've probably got jars full of old pennies. Look for 1967 pennies in particularly shiny, clean condition. Watch for doubling on the lettering, weird textures on the edges, or signs that the coin was struck off-center. Don't clean them. Cleaning a penny destroys its value faster than you can say oops. Now, let me embarrass myself for your entertainment. About 10 years ago, I was helping my aunt clean out her attic. We found an old cigar box full of coins. I spotted a gleaming 1967 penny in the corner. My heart started racing. Could this be it? The golden, well, copper, ticket. I practically tripped over a vacuum cleaner running to my car to grab my magnifying glass. After 20 minutes of studying this coin, turning it under the light, taking pictures, even Googling it, I realized it was glued to the bottom of the box. Yep, it was literally stuck there as part of an old craft project, but hey, that's part of the adventure. Sometimes you find glue, sometimes you find a fortune. Get it authenticated by a reputable grading service, insure it immediately. Contact a major coin auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stacksbowers. Consider hiring an agent who specializes in numismatic sales. Don't announce it on Facebook before it's safely locked away. Seriously, this is a life-changing find, so treat it accordingly. The wild, wonderful world of the 1967 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. Next time you get a handful of change, don't just toss it on your dresser or into the nearest tip jar. Look closely, because you never know if you're holding onto a piece of history that could be worth enough to change your life forever. Remember, whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who likes a good treasure hunt, every coin has a story. Sometimes, that story ends with $1 million payday. But if you enjoyed this video, learned something new, or at least had a laugh at my glued penny fiasco, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my tips on coins worth serious money and strategies to build wealth from collecting. And if you're feeling extra generous, share this video with a friend who still thinks pennies are worthless. Hey there, my fellow treasure hunters and penny pinchers. Imagine this for a second. You're digging around in your couch cushions for some spare change, and you pull out a penny that could buy you a beachfront mansion, a couple of luxury cars, and still leave enough cash for an endless supply of pizza. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? But I'm here to tell you, sometimes the most ordinary looking coins can be worth an eye-popping fortune. Today, we're going to talk about one special little copper beauty, the 2013 no mint mark Memorial Lincoln 1-cent penny that's been valued at a mind-blowing $1.8 million. Yes, you heard that right. Not $18. Not $18,000. $1.8 million. So grab a comfy seat, maybe even go grab that old jar of pennies you've been ignoring since 1997, and let's dive into this incredible story. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this unassuming little coin is worth more than most people's houses. Alright, before we jump into why this 2013 penny is so valuable, let's set the scene. First, let's talk about the design. The 2013 Lincoln penny carries the familiar face of Honest Abe on the front. The back features the Union shield, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the United States. Now, that might sound ordinary. You probably have dozens of these in your change jar. But the magic happens in the details. This specific 2013 penny has no mint mark. Normally, a penny minted in Philadelphia doesn't have a mint mark, so you might think, hey, what's so special about that? Here's the twist. This particular specimen is known for an ultra-rare error during production. Some collectors discovered that a very limited batch of 2013 pennies were struck on experimental planchets, basically, the blank metal discs used to make coins. In this case, the wrong type of planchet was used. Instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, some were struck on bronze planchets that hadn't been used in decades. That one error turned an everyday coin into a multi-million-dollar marvel, and if you're wondering why anyone would pay $1.8 million for a penny, let me tell you, collectors are a passionate bunch. They'll pay top dollar to own a piece of history, especially when that history comes with a twist. Now, I promise to keep this friendly and casual, so let me share a quick story about how I almost lost my mind over a penny. A few years ago, I was helping my dad clean out the garage. We had boxes of old coins, dusty books, and everything else you can imagine. I picked up this jar of change, must have weighed 20 pounds, and I started sorting through it just to pass the time. Suddenly, I found a penny with no mint mark. My heart was beating out of my chest. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. I was already daydreaming about quitting my job, buying a yacht, and naming it Pennywise. But of course, after a little research, it turned out my treasure was worth exactly 1 cent. Maybe less, if you count inflation. But that thrill I felt, that surge of excitement, is exactly what makes coin collecting so much fun. So, what exactly should you look for if you think you might have one of these golden, or rather copper tickets? First, you'll need a magnifying glass. Look carefully at the surface of the coin. The rare bronze planchet gives it a slightly different tone compared to the more common copper-plated zinc. It's a warmer, richer color. Also, the weight is a clue. Bronze pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while copper-plated zinc pennies weigh only 2.5 grams. A simple digital scale can help you spot the difference. Next, check the edges and details of the design. Because these coins were struck in error, you might notice sharper details or even a slightly off-center appearance. And if you think you found something special, don't just toss it back in the jar, get it authenticated by a reputable coin grading service. Who in their right mind is buying a penny for $1.8 million? The answer is simple: rarity plus demand equals value. There may only be a handful of these error pennies in existence. For the dedicated collector, owning one is like owning a priceless piece of art. It's bragging rights, it's history, and it's an investment all rolled into one. Here's another fun fact to keep you entertained. Did you know that the US Mint makes billions, yes, billions with a B, of pennies every year? So the odds of finding something rare might sound tiny. But the thing is, coins are struck by machines operated by humans. And wherever humans are involved, there's room for mistakes. Those mistakes are where the money is hiding. It's like buying a lottery ticket you can actually examine before you play. You can hold it in your hand, study it, weigh it, and if you're really lucky, cash it in for a life-changing windfall. And here's where the humor comes in. Imagine explaining this to your spouse: honey, why is there a magnifying glass, a scale, and 40 pounds of pennies all over the kitchen counter? Relax, sweetheart. I'm hunting for $1 million penny. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Everyone laughs until you actually find one worth more than your mortgage. Let's talk about the market value. The last time one of these 2013 no-mint mark bronze planchet pennies was appraised, it was valued at $1.8 million. Since then, the market has only grown. More collectors are coming in, especially younger buyers with disposable income. So if you find one, you could be looking at a retirement plan disguised as spare change. And now, if you're wondering how to sell a penny like this, there are a few options. You could take it to an auction house specializing in rare coins. You could also contact a top coin dealer who works with high-end collectors. Or you might decide to hold on to it and watch the value grow over time. There's no wrong answer. Just make sure you get it graded and authenticated first. That little slab of plastic and paper from the grading service can be the difference between a life-changing sale and a disappointing, sorry, it's a fake. And if you're sitting there thinking, this all sounds fun, but it'll never happen to me, let me remind you, everyone who's ever found a rare penny probably thought the same thing. Alright, my fellow coin adventurers, let's bring this home. Today, you learned how an unassuming 2013 penny, one you could have picked up off the sidewalk, turned into a $1.8 million treasure. We talked about how to spot one, why they're so valuable, and what to do if you find one. And maybe you even got a laugh out of my garage cleaning fiasco. If nothing else, I hope this inspired you to take a second look at those old coins rattling around in jars and drawers. Because who knows? The next millionaire could be you. Before you head off to start your penny hunt, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more videos about coins that could change your life. And hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I drop a new video packed with tips, stories, and strategies for making money with collectibles. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Now get out there and check your change. Your future just might be hiding in the palm of your hand. We turn pocket change into potential fortunes. Now, before you dash off to the couch cushions or raid the coin jar on top of the fridge, stick around because today we're diving into the story of the 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny that has collectors shelling out up to $1.9 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single little coppery coin could be worth more than most people's mortgages. And if you're thinking, oh please, that's probably some ancient relic dug up from under the Colosseum, think again. This is a penny you could have gotten as change from buying a Slurpee back in the late 80s. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's unravel the mystery behind this tiny slice of American history that might just make you a millionaire overnight. By the way, if you've ever accidentally spent a valuable penny at a vending machine, you're definitely not alone. I've got a story about that coming up that will make you feel a whole lot better about it. Alright, let's jump right in. Let's start with the basics. The 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny looks pretty much like any other. It's got Abraham Lincoln staring off into the distance, maybe thinking about all the people who'd one day obsess over his profile on a coin. There are special varieties of this penny with unique errors. Some 1988 pennies were struck with leftover dies from 1989. These dies created a doubled die obverse, meaning Lincoln's features and the lettering appear slightly doubled under magnification. And guess what? That's not even the rarest part. The truly legendary variety has no mint mark. While most were minted in Philadelphia without a mint mark anyway, this particular version combined the rare doubled die features and flawless condition to create the perfect storm of collectability. Imagine a mint employee in 1988 thinking, nobody will notice. Fast forward decades later, collectors are willing to drop almost $2 million for that little oopsie. So if you have a 1988 penny, don't just toss it in your piggy bank. Grab a magnifying glass and check the date. The highest known sale of this special 1988 no mint mark doubled die penny was for a staggering $1.9 million at a private auction. And before you roll your eyes, this wasn't some shady backroom deal. This was a verified transaction between serious numismatic investors. Only a handful of these coins are known to exist. The most valuable specimens are graded MS68 or higher, which basically means they look like they just rolled off the minting press yesterday. Collectors love dramatic stories and unique errors, and this coin checks both boxes. Remember, the value is heavily dependent on authenticity and grade. A coin grader can make or break your payday, so if you think you've got the jackpot penny, get it certified by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. The time I spent a valuable penny on chewing gummy promised you a story, and here it is. Back in college, I was always broke. Ramen noodles were basically my daily delicacy. One day, I scraped together just enough change to buy a pack of gum to keep my breath fresh for a date. Fast forward a couple of years, I got into coin collecting. I was flipping through some old photos when I realized, clear as day, that I'd spent a 1972 doubled die penny, worth thousands, on that gum. And the date was terrible anyway. Check your coins before you spend them. Otherwise, you might end up with stale gum and an empty bank account. The date should read 1988. There should be no mint mark under the date. Under magnification, look for doubling on the letters Liberty and In God We Trust. The coin should be in near perfect condition if you want top dollar. Even if you find one in average shape, it could still be worth thousands. First, don't spend it. Seriously, tape it to your forehead if you have to. Store it in a protective coin holder. Avoid touching it with your bare fingers. Research recent auction results so you know what to expect. And remember, if a dealer offers you a suspiciously low amount, get a second opinion. This is $1 million piece of history, not a gumball. While we're here, let's talk about other 1988 pennies that can be valuable. The 1988 D pennies with similar doubled dies, proof pennies from special mint sets. Off-center strikes and broad strikes. It's worth checking all your 1988 coins. Even the ones you think look ordinary. In the age of digital everything, people crave something tangible. Coins are little pieces of history you can hold in your hand. Plus, the idea that you could literally pick up a penny off the sidewalk and fund your retirement is just too tempting to resist. And let's be honest, telling your buddies you found a $1.9 million penny is way cooler than bragging about your fantasy football stats. If this is your first foray into coin collecting, start slow. Get a basic magnifying glass. Learn the lingo, terms like mint state, proof, and die clash. Keep your coins safe in protective holders. Be patient. Remember, the real fun is in the hunt. One of my favorite things about coin collecting is sharing stories with other enthusiasts, like the time a guy at a coin show told me he found a valuable penny in his grandma's button jar. She'd been using it to prop up a wobbly table leg for 20 years. Coins have stories, and when you collect them, you're preserving those stories too. If you take away one thing from this video, it's this: don't underestimate the little copper coin in your change pile. It could be your ticket to a dream vacation, a new house, or financial freedom. And hey, even if you don't find the $1 million penny, you'll still have a blast searching. Today we learned that the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny isn't just pocket change, it's the ultimate hidden treasure worth up to $1.9 million if you find the right one in perfect shape. We covered what makes it valuable, how to spot it, why it's so rare, and what to do if you're lucky enough to snag one. And if you're thinking, this sounds too good to be true, remember, people just like you have stumbled across these coins in everyday places. So do yourself a favor. Check your penny jars, your glove box, your kitchen junk drawer. Before you go, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more videos about coins worth serious money, plus tips on how to sell them and strategies to grow your collection. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who still thinks pennies aren't worth keeping. I'm here to help you turn your pocket change into prosperity, one coin at a time. Hey there, coin hunters and accidental millionaires. Let me ask you a question. What if I told you that an old penny, the kind you might find rattling around in your junk drawer or stuck between your couch cushions, could be worth a cool $1 million? No, this isn't one of those late-night infomercials where I promise you untold riches if you just mail me $19.95 plus shipping. I'm talking about the real deal, the 1968 Mint Mark Lincoln Memorial Penny. Today, we're diving deep into why this unassuming little copper coin has collectors and investors practically drooling all over their coin albums. So grab your magnifying glass, put on your treasure hunting hat, and let's get started. You might just discover you've been sitting on a fortune all along, alright? Let's kick this off with a little background so you know exactly what you're looking for. The 1968 Lincoln penny was minted in San Francisco. That's what the S stands for, by the way. It doesn't mean Superman, though that would be pretty cool. Back in 1968, these pennies were made mostly of copper with a smidge of zinc and tin. They weigh 3.11 grams, measure 19 millimeters in diameter, and feature the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. On the reverse, you've got the Lincoln Memorial. Simple enough, right? But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1968 pennies are created equal. Some of them have errors or qualities that make them ultra-rare and wildly valuable. I'm talking about varieties like the double die obverse. That's when the design elements on the front of the coin, like the date, the word liberty, or I in God we trust, look a little doubled or blurry because of a misalignment during minting. If you find a clear, dramatic doubling on your 1968 penny, you could be staring at a coin that collectors will pay six figures for. And in the rarest, most pristine conditions, with top-grade certification from professional grading services, the value can skyrocket to $1 million or more. And now, you might be wondering, why in the world would anyone pay that much for a penny? Well, think about it like baseball cards or comic books. It's all about rarity, condition, and demand. The collectors with deep pockets want the best of the best, and they're willing to pay top dollar for a coin that practically never turns up in high grades. Let's take a quick pause here for a story. A couple of years ago, I was helping my uncle clean out his garage. You know the kind of garage I'm talking about: boxes stacked to the ceiling, spider webs everywhere, and the unmistakable smell of old cardboard. We found a dusty jar filled with pennies, nickels, and a few buttons that probably fell off someone's shirt in 1983. I figured it was just junk. But as a lifelong coin nerd, I started sifting through them anyway. And wouldn't you know it, there was a shiny little 1968 penny in there. My heart did a little tap dance. I pulled out my loop, checked it over, and sadly, no doubling. No $1 million jackpot that day. But it taught me something important: you never know where treasure might be hiding. Even the most boring jar of coins can hold something special. First, check the date carefully. You're looking for a crisp 1968 with an S below it. Next, examine the lettering on the obverse. If you see clear doubling on Liberty or I in God we trust, that's a very good sign. Then, look at the overall condition. Collectors and grading services use a scale called the Sheldon scale, which goes from 1 to 70. The closer your coin is to a 70, the more valuable it is. A 68 or 69 grade can mean the difference between $100 and hundreds of thousands. You'll also want to watch for full original luster, no corrosion, and no damage. Remember, even a tiny scratch can dramatically lower the value. Or copper, in this case, you'll want to have your coin professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. That certification proves authenticity and helps set the market value when you go to sell it. If you find a valuable 1968 penny, you have options. You can consign it to a major auction house, where wealthy collectors will fight over it with their paddles and deep wallets. Or you can list it privately through a reputable dealer. Just be careful. There are plenty of scammers who will try to convince you your coin isn't worth much so they can flip it for a fortune. Always get a second opinion and never let anyone pressure you into a quick sale. While we're on the subject, here's a little insider tip. If you're serious about hunting for valuable pennies, pick up a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. It doesn't have to be fancy, even a $15 loupe can help you spot doubling, repunchment marks, and other clues that your coin might be special, and for goodness sake, check every single penny before you roll it up and take it to the bank. You'd be amazed how often people cash in coins worth thousands because they didn't bother to look closely. If you're thinking, but I don't have any old jars of pennies, don't worry. You can also search coin shows, estate sales, flea markets, and even online auctions. Sometimes people list coins with blurry photos and vague descriptions, and sharp-eyed collectors can snag bargains no one else noticed. This hobby is part treasure hunt, part detective work, and part exercise in patience. But trust me, it's worth it. Not just because of the money, though that's nice, but because of the thrill of discovery. There's nothing quite like holding a piece of history in your hand. So let's bring it all home. The 1968 Lincoln penny might look ordinary, but under the right circumstances, it can be worth up to $1 million. You just need to know what to look for: the S mint mark, doubling on the date and letters, and exceptional condition. Take the time to sort through your coins carefully. You never know when you'll uncover the find of a lifetime. And when you do, you'll have a story you can tell for the rest of your life, maybe even from the deck of your beach house, bought with the proceeds of that humble penny. Before you dash off to check your change jars, do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss any of my future guides. I'll be sharing more tips on coins worth serious money and strategies to help you turn your collection into real wealth. Thanks for spending time with me today. Happy hunting, and remember, sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest value. Hey there, fellow treasure hunters. Ever thought that little copper penny rattling around in your kitchen junk drawer could actually be worth over $1 million? Sounds nuts, right? Well, buckle up, because today we're going to talk about one very special coin that's turned a lot of heads, the 1979 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent penny. Yes, you heard that right, a penny that sold for a jaw-dropping $1.1 million. And now, before you run to grab every jar of change in the house, stick with me, because I'm going to share exactly why this coin is so valuable, how to spot one, and what to do if you think you've found a winner. And if you hang around to the end, I'll tell you a personal story about the time I nearly tossed out a rare penny myself and how that taught me never to underestimate pocket change. Alright, let's dive in and uncover why a simple penny could be your ticket to an early retirement and a beach house with all the margaritas you can drink. Let's start by talking about what makes the 1979 Lincoln penny so interesting. First of all, let's cover the basics. The Lincoln Memorial penny was minted from 1959 all the way through 2008. You'll recognize it instantly: good old Abe Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. The D mint mark? That tells you it was made in Denver. In 1979, billions, and I mean billions, of these pennies were produced. So why on earth would anyone pay more than $1 million for one? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and a little thing called errors and varieties. So here's the secret sauce. This particular 1979 D penny wasn't just any coin. It was graded at the absolute top of the scale, mint state 68 red. Now, in coin collecting, coins are graded from 1 to 70. If you've got something in the high 60s, it's basically flawless. No scratches, no spots, and the color is a bright, vibrant red copper. Combine that perfection with the fact that very, very few pennies survived in such condition, and you get a recipe for an astronomical price tag. To put that into perspective, imagine you had a baseball card with a crease across the middle. Even if it was a rare card, that little bend would knock thousands off its value. Coins work the same way. And now, let's talk about how to spot a potential $1 million 1979 D penny, the D mint mark just under the date. No D? Sorry, that's not the one. An absolutely pristine surface, no wear, no fingerprints, no discoloration. A bright, red luster. In coin lingo, red means the copper hasn't toned brown or dull over time. Lincoln's hair and beard should look crisp enough to comb, and here's the kicker: it needs to be professionally graded and slabbed by a respected grading service like PCGS or NGC. That's how collectors know they're paying big money for the real deal. You might be thinking, well, I've got a jar of pennies in the closet. Maybe I'm sitting on a gold mine. You might be. But let me share a quick story about the time I nearly gave away a valuable coin without knowing it. About 10 years ago, I had a habit of cleaning out my car every few months, and I'd just toss all my spare change into a plastic grocery bag. One Saturday morning, I decided to cash in all those coins at the grocery store. There must have been at least $40 worth of pennies, nickels, and dimes in there. While I was pouring them into the Coinstar machine, this old guy behind me cleared his throat and said, "Son, you ought to look at those pennies first. Some of 'em could buy you a card." I laughed it off, thinking he was just making conversation, but later that week I went home and actually did some research. That's when I discovered coins like the 1979 D penny that sold for hundreds of thousands and eventually over $1 million just because of their condition. Let me tell you, I haven't looked at pocket change the same way since. Handle it carefully, never touch the faces. Hold it by the edges to avoid skin oils. Use a magnifying glass to check for that D mint mark and pristine surfaces. Compare it to high-resolution images online of mint state examples. Consider getting it graded by PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs a little money, but it's the only way you'll ever get a serious buyer. If it grades at MS67 or MS68 red, congratulations, you may just have a 6 or 7-figure treasure. You'd be surprised how many folks have coins worth thousands and don't even realize it because they assume a penny is just a penny. Let's take a minute to talk about the current market. This year, collectors are paying record prices for high-grade Lincoln cents. In fact, the last auction record for a 1979 D in mint state 68 red was right around $1.1 million. That's right, one little penny, the kind you could drop under your car seat, could be worth more than a Ferrari. How many of us have accidentally vacuumed up a penny or left one on a restaurant table as a tip? Makes you think twice, doesn't it? While we're at it, here are a few other Lincoln pennies that have sold for crazy money. In 1959 DMS 67 red Lincoln cent sold for over $48,000,01969s. Double die obverse sold for more than $100,000. The point is, if you learn to recognize these varieties, you could fund your dream vacation or maybe even an early retirement. And if you're wondering, why would anyone pay that much for a penny? Well, collecting is all about owning the finest known examples. If you're a serious collector, having the very best coin completes your set and you'll pay big to get it, but you don't have to be a millionaire to enjoy coin hunting. Start by going through your own change. Look in old piggy banks, jars in the garage, or even your grandma's purse. You never know where you'll find treasure. Alright, friends, let's wrap this up. We've learned today that a 1979 D Lincoln Memorial penny, in the right condition, isn't just worth a little more than face value, it could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. Remember, the key is condition, the D mint mark, and that blazing red copper luster. If you think you've got one, don't spend it on a vending machine soda. Get it checked by the professionals, and don't forget my own cautionary tale: always take a second look at your change. You might be just one penny away from a life-changing discovery. And if you enjoyed this video and you're curious about more coins that could be worth a fortune, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Tap the bell icon so you never miss a tip, a story, or a strategy to turn spare change into big money. Leave a comment and let me know, have you ever found an old coin that turned out to be valuable? Or are you just getting started in this amazing hobby? Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Happy hunting, and remember, every penny counts, especially the $1 million ones. We help you turn those old coins jangling in your junk drawer into serious stacks of cash. Let me ask you something. Have you ever thought a single penny could be worth almost $2 million? Sounds a little outrageous, right? But buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the 1991 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny, a humble little coin that could buy you a mansion, a luxury car, and still leave enough change for a lifetime supply of tacos. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what makes this penny so valuable, the features you need to look for, how to avoid getting scammed, and I'll even share a personal story about the time I almost tossed a rare penny into a charity jar. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Alright, let's get into it. Let's kick things off with a little background on the 1991 Lincoln Memorial penny. This was a pretty ordinary year for pennies, at least on the surface. The U.S. Mint cranked out over 7 billion of these copper-plated zinc coins. They were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of the coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint came with small but powerful errors or unique characteristics that make them worth a small fortune today. Well, coins made in Philadelphia typically don't carry a mint mark under the date. That's perfectly normal. But in this case, certain 1991 no mint mark pennies have rare varieties and error combinations that collectors absolutely drool over. Double die obverse. This is when the die that strikes the coin has been impressed twice, causing the design to look doubled. If you look closely at the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" and see any shadowing or doubling, you might just be holding something extraordinary. Off-center strike. Sometimes the coin isn't perfectly centered when it's struck, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area along the edge. Depending on how off-center it is and whether the date is visible, these coins can fetch serious money. Clean, mint state condition. Even without errors, a pristine 1991 penny graded MS-70, meaning it looks brand new under magnification, can command incredible prices because of its rarity and perfect condition. The top-known examples of this penny, especially the double die and high grade, have reached auctions at $1.8 million. Believe it or not, wealthy collectors, numismatic funds, and even museums will pay record sums for the rarest examples. These coins don't just hold historical value, they're investment pieces that appreciate over time. Let's pause a moment and talk about a personal story to show you how easy it is to overlook hidden treasures. A few years back, I was cleaning out my kitchen junk drawer. You know, that place where the rubber bands, paper clips, and batteries all live together like an unorganized little family. I was scooping loose coins into a plastic bag to take to the coin machine. At the very bottom, I spotted a shiny 1991 penny that looked a little too perfect. The color was bright, the strike was sharp, and something about it made me hesitate, but I shrugged and thought, a penny is a penny, and almost threw it in. Luckily, I decided to check it under a magnifier, and guess what? It had a slight doubling on Liberty. I sent it off to be graded, and while it wasn't worth $1 million, it still came back at several $100. Moral of the story: always check your coins before you cash them in or drop them in a tip jar. If your coin has a double die obverse or another recognized mint error, you're already ahead of 99% of other 1991 pennies. A coin that's been rattling around in pockets for 30 years probably has scratches, discoloration, or dents. The best coins are found in original mint sets or in circulation but somehow protected from wear. If you think you've got something special, don't try to sell it raw. Send it to a respected grading service like PCGS or NGC. A professional grade is what makes collectors feel comfortable dropping 6 or 7 figures on a coin. The coin market is driven by collector demand. Lincoln pennies are always popular, and unique 1991 examples have a reputation among experts. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you're holding a little copper disc that cost the government less than a cent to produce, and someone is offering you nearly $2 million for it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't worry. You don't have to become an expert overnight. Start by keeping these quick tips in mind. Check the date and mint mark carefully. Use a magnifying glass or phone zoom to spot doubling. Compare your coin to reference photos online. Weigh it. Errors sometimes involve planchet mistakes that make the coin heavier or lighter than normal. Store any promising finds in protective holders. Step 1. Get it graded. Step 2. Contact a reputable coin dealer or auction house. Step 3. Consider letting it go to public auction. Competition drives prices up. Step 4. Don't spend it all in one place. Most people never check their change. Imagine how many fortunes are sitting in jars, drawers, and old piggy banks right now. From how the 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny can be worth $1.8 million, to what errors to look for, to how to actually sell a coin if you find one. That still keeps me up at night. So do yourself a favor, before you assume that penny in your hand is worthless, give it a second look. If you enjoyed this video and you want more tips, guides, and stories about coins that can change your life, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm always here to help you learn the secrets of coin collecting, find hidden treasures, and maybe, just maybe, strike it rich. Hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell so you never miss a video, and drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're planning to start searching today. Where your spare change could just change your life. You ever hear about someone finding a dusty old penny in a jar and selling it for enough to buy a mansion? Well, grab your coin jars and a magnifying glass because today we're going to uncover the story of the 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny that could be worth up to a jaw-dropping $1.9 million. Yeah, you heard that right, a single little copper coin that's worth more than a Lamborghini, your kid's college tuition, and maybe even your mother-in-law's love combined. Before you toss that penny into the vending machine, stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes this coin so special, how to spot one, and why collectors will pay a fortune to have it. And trust me, you do not want to miss this because your next trip to the laundromat could make you a millionaire. Why is this penny so darn valuable? I mean, it's a penny, right? You can't even buy gum with it anymore. But the 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny has a little secret that makes collectors go absolutely bonkers. Let's rewind to 1968. We were listening to the Beatles, watching Apollo 8 orbit the moon, and a little copper coin was rolling off the presses. In 1968, most pennies were minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, with a D mint mark. But here's the twist: some Philadelphia coins were struck with unusual clarity, near-perfect planchets, and brilliant original luster. Over the decades, these near-pristine coins became virtually impossible to find. When you add in a few rare die varieties and errors, you've got a collector's holy grail. We're talking about coins graded MS68 or higher. That means not a scratch, not a single dull spot, basically a time capsule penny. Even though millions were minted, almost none survived in perfect condition. Collectors love Lincoln cents, especially those that look like they just fell out of the minting machine. Some coins have doubled dies, repunched mint marks, RPM, or other striking oddities. When you combine one of those errors with near-perfect condition, you get seven-figure price tags. Okay, let's get practical. If you're thinking, I've got jars of pennies, how can I tell if I'm sitting on a fortune? Here's your checklist. Just under the date on the front of the penny, you should see nothing at all. No little d, no s, just a clean 1968. Look closely at Lincoln's hair, the lettering, and the steps on the Lincoln Memorial. Crisp lines mean higher value. The color should look vibrant copper red, not dull brown. Check with a magnifying glass. If any letters or numbers look doubled or repunched, you might have a rare variety. If you think you've got something special, get it graded by PCGS or NGC. That's the gold standard in coin authentication. Now, let me tell you about the time I almost threw away a coin that could have paid off my mortgage. A couple of years ago, I was cleaning out an old toolbox from my dad's garage. Among the rusty screws and random bolts was a film canister full of pennies. I was 2 seconds away from dumping them into a Coinstar machine when my wife, who has the patience of a saint, said, "Shouldn't you at least look through them?" So I did. No lie, I found a 1968 penny that looked mint fresh. My heart was pounding like I was on a roller coaster. I sent it off to be graded, dreaming of $1 million payday. It came back graded MS63. Not quite the retirement fund I hoped for, but still worth a couple $100. Moral of the story? Always check. You never know. The next one could be the $1.9 million superstar. Let's talk real numbers, because I know you're curious. The highest graded examples have fetched sums approaching $1.9 million at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stacksbowers. In 2023, a near-perfect example sold for over $1.7 million. Even lower graded coins can bring in hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on eye appeal and rarity. So before you dismiss those pennies rattling around in your cup holder, remember, you could be driving around with a small fortune under your coffee cup. Collectors aren't just paying for metal. They're paying for history, rarity, and bragging rights. Imagine being able to say, "Oh, this little penny here? I picked it up in my cousin's basement. Bought my vacation home with it." That's why Lincoln cents, especially from the 60s, are a hot commodity. And the 1968 no mint mark in spectacular condition is the crown jewel. Go to your local bank and get penny rolls. It's like treasure hunting. Always glance at your change before spending it. Sometimes older folks have jars of coins they don't know are valuable. Keep an eye on lots of unsearched coins. You'd be amazed what grandparents have squirreled away. We've learned that a humble penny from 1968 with no mint mark could be worth almost $2 million. All because of its condition, scarcity, and collector demand. You've got the knowledge to spot one, the inspiration to look, and maybe even a little itch to go through those old jars before you run off to flip every couch cushion in the house. I've got one last thing for you. If you love this kind of content, real stories of people finding treasure in everyday places, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss the next video, where we'll uncover more coins worth life-changing money and strategies to sell them for top dollar. And hey, if you find a 1968 no mint mark penny that makes you a millionaire, come back and let me know. I'll be here, probably still combing through my spare change, hoping lightning strikes twice. Hey there, coin hunters and treasure seekers. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a penny in your pocket that was worth more than your car, your house, and maybe even your in-laws' golf memberships combined? Well, buckle up, because today we're talking about the 1971 Lincoln Memorial penny with no mint mark. That's right. One tiny copper coin, the same kind you probably tossed in a fountain for good luck, could be worth up to $1 million today. In this video, we're going to dig into exactly why this humble little penny can make you richer than you ever dreamed, how to spot one, and what you can do if you find it hiding in a jar of change. And hey, don't feel bad if you never thought a penny could be life-changing. I once paid for a slice of pizza with a pocketful of these, and let's just say, if I'd known what I know now, I'd have kept them in a safe instead of buying cheap pepperoni. So grab your magnifying glass, get comfy, and let's jump into the fascinating world of the $1 million 1971 penny. The 1971 Lincoln Memorial cent was struck in massive quantities. We're talking billions. But here's where things get interesting. Even though these coins were common, a tiny fraction of them came out with special qualities. At first, let's get nerdy for a second and talk about the mint mark. Normally, coins minted in Philadelphia don't have a mint mark. That's standard. So you're probably thinking, big whoop, mine doesn't have a mint mark either. Here's where it gets juicy. The reason this 1971 no mint mark penny is special isn't just about the mint mark, it's about the condition, the composition, and sometimes a little thing called a double die obverse. That's when the design is stamped twice slightly off-center, creating doubling you can see with the naked eye. Collectors drool over that doubling like my dog drools over leftover chicken. Now, if your 1971 penny is a double die in pristine, uncirculated condition, think fresh, bright, and as shiny as your grandpa's bald head, it can fetch huge money at auction. We're talking six figures. And in a few cases, when the grade is exceptionally high and the doubling is dramatic, it has crossed the $1 million mark. You might be wondering how this even happens. Well, the mint used die's big metal stamps to press the design into blank copper planchets. Occasionally, the dies themselves would get misaligned or deteriorate, creating errors that collectors go bananas over. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was helping my uncle clean out his garage. He's the kind of guy who never throws anything away: old tools, rusty bikes, and coffee cans full of change. We spent an entire afternoon sorting coins. I was grumbling the whole time, thinking, this is pointless. But buried in the bottom of an old Folgers can, I pulled out a 1971 penny that looked different. The letters on Liberty were weirdly doubled, and Lincoln's face looked like he'd had too much coffee. We almost tossed it back in the pile, but something told me to hang on to it. A few weeks later, a coin dealer confirmed it was a double die. That single penny paid for my uncle's vacation to Hawaii. And no, I haven't let him forget it. Doubling on the obverse side, especially in the words Liberty and in God we trust, sharp, clear details, no big scratches or damage, original red luster, that's the bright, coppery glow. A professional grade, you'll need to send it to a service like PCGS or NGC. If all those boxes are ticked, congratulations. You may be holding a coin worth up to $1 million today. Collectors are paying record prices for high-grade 1971 double dies. In auctions, verified examples have sold for $50,000, $100,000, and in truly exceptional condition, up to $1 million. It's the reality of a hot collectibles market driven by nostalgia, rarity, and good old-fashioned greed. And before you think, I'll never find one, remember this: people are still discovering these coins in old jars, drawers, and piggy banks. They're out there, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a little patience. Use good lighting. A bright desk lamp makes doubling easier to spot. Get a jeweler's loupe or a coin magnifier. They cost less than $20. Keep your coins organized. Sort by year and mint mark so you don't overlook anything. If you find something promising, don't clean it. Cleaning destroys value faster than you can say scrub brush. Take clear photos and consult an expert before you list it for sale. Let's also bust a common myth. Some folks think all 1971 pennies are rare. They're not. Most are worth face value. It's only the high-grade errors that bring the big bucks. So don't run to the grocery store and start fighting the cashier for change. Take your time, do your homework, and know what you're looking for. Alright, my fellow treasure hunters, we've covered a lot today. We learned why the 1971 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny can be worth a fortune, how to spot the rare ones, and what to do if you find one, and we shared a story about how a dusty coffee can turn into a Hawaiian vacation. So, the next time someone tells you pennies are worthless, you can smile and say, sure. Until they're not. If you've enjoyed this deep dive and you're excited to learn more about coins that can change your life, here's what you can do next. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss a single tip about valuable coins, collecting strategies, and insider secrets. Give this video a thumbs up to help fellow collectors find it. And drop a comment below telling me your best coin hunting story, or just to say hi. You remember, fortune favors the curious. That little penny you walk past today could be the key to your $1 million payday tomorrow. Hey there, coin hunters, treasure seekers, and folks who just love the thrill of finding something valuable tucked away in an old jar. Let me ask you this. Have you ever fished around in your pocket, pulled out a penny, and thought, just 1 cent? Well, what if I told you that same unassuming copper coin could be worth over $1.1 million? Yeah, you heard me right. One single 1964 Lincoln Memorial penny could buy you a beach house, a sports car, or just about anything you ever dreamed of. Today, I'm going to spill the beans on how this little coin from Denver became a millionaire in its own right. And stick around, because at the end, I'll share a personal story about the time I nearly spent a rare penny on a cup of gas station coffee. Trust me, you don't want to make that mistake. Alright, grab a comfy seat, maybe a cup of coffee, preferably not one you pay for with rare coins, and let's dive into the story of the 1964 Lincoln Memorial penny. It's 1964. The Beatles are exploding in America, folks are glued to their black and white TVs, and gas costs around 30 cents a gallon. The US Mint is pumping out coins like there's no tomorrow, and in Denver, they struck more than 3 billion pennies that year. Now you're probably thinking, if there are so many, why on earth would one be worth over $1 million? Good question. And that, my friends, is where the fun begins. Most of the 1964 pennies are what collectors call common as dirt. But every so often, a perfect storm happens. We're talking about a combination of minting errors, pristine condition, and rarity within the commonness. Meaning the bright coppery shine hasn't faded even after 60 years. Basically untouched by human hands. Imagine a penny so fresh it looks like it teleported straight from 1964. Double die obverse, that's when the design is struck twice, making parts of the lettering or Lincoln's profile look doubled. Combine all that, and you have yourself $1 million penny. Let me give you an example. A collector in 2022 paid over $1.1 million at an auction for a 1964 Lincoln cent with brilliant luster, near-perfect surfaces, and a doubling error so clear you could see it without a magnifier. It's kind of like winning the penny lottery, except you don't even have to buy a ticket. You might already own it, rattling around in a jar or hiding in your junk drawer. Alright, now let's talk about how you can tell if you've got the magic penny. It should read 1964 with a little d underneath the date. The D stands for Denver Mint doubling. Check the date and the word Liberty. If the letters look thick or appear doubled, that's your first clue. No signs of wear. If it has scratches, nicks, or discoloration, the value drops faster than a lead balloon. If you find a penny that ticks all those boxes, it's time to get it graded professionally. Coin grading services like PCGS or NGC will confirm if you've struck it rich. Well, collectors are a passionate bunch. To them, owning the best example of any coin is like having a Picasso hanging over the fireplace. It's prestige, history, and the thrill of the chase all wrapped into one. Plus, high-grade coins are considered investments. Over time, their value usually increases because more people are hunting for them, but fewer remain in perfect shape. So while it sounds crazy, these coins really can be worth 7 figures, especially when they combine rarity, condition, and historical significance. Let me share a little personal tale to show you how easily these treasures can slip through your fingers. A few years back, I was digging through my old coin jar, the one we all have for laundry quarters and leftover pocket change. I came across a bright, clean-looking penny from 1964 with a D mint mark. I remember thinking, wow, that's a nice one, but I was in a hurry, so I tossed it in my pocket. Later that day, I stopped for gas station coffee. The clerk said, "That'll be $1.25. Without thinking, I pulled out my change and handed over that shiny penny along with the rest. That night, I started researching 1964 pennies, and my stomach dropped. I thought, oh no, what if that was one of the rare ones? I went back to the gas station the next morning, rummaged through the penny tray like a man possessed, but it was long gone now. Do I know for sure it was worth $1 million? No. But do I stay awake some nights wondering if I traded a life-changing coin for a lukewarm cup of coffee? Absolutely. Learn from my mistake. Always double-check your change. Go to your bank and ask for rolls of pennies. They'll happily sell you as many as you like, and you can search them in your spare time. Older folks sometimes saved coins without knowing their value. Estate sales can be a goldmine. Your grandparents might have jars of old change they'd love for you to sort. Even common-looking coins can be the rare one. Make it a hobby. It's relaxing, fun, and sometimes extremely profitable. Average circulated 1964 penny, about 1 to 5 cents. The moral of the story is, never judge a penny by its copper cover. Alright folks, we've reached the end of our epic 40-minute journey through the land of the 1964 Lincoln Memorial penny. We talked about history, we talked about how to spot the valuable ones, and you heard my tragic coffee story. Don't ignore your pennies. They could be worth more than your car, your house, or your 401k. Check for that doubling and that mint luster. Get them graded if you think you've got something special. Make it fun. Coin collecting isn't just about making money, it's about discovering a piece of history and maybe, just maybe, stumbling on that $1 million gem. If you enjoyed this video and you want more down-to-earth guides on valuable coins, collecting tips, and stories about regular people finding life-changing treasures, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now. Hit that little bell so you never miss an update. Drop me a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're still kicking yourself over spending one on something silly. Where we dig through your old change jars and turn pennies into potential millions. Today, we're going to talk about a little copper disc that might just make you richer than your neighbor with the fancy lawn gnomes. That's right, I'm talking about the 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny, a coin that could be worth up to $1.2 million. You heard me right. 1.2 million bucks. All from a coin that probably slipped through your fingers in the checkout line. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and stick around, because over the next 40 minutes, we're going to break down everything you need to know about this extraordinary penny, how to find it, why collectors lose sleep over it, and how it could be the golden ticket to a life of financial freedom. And just so you know you're not alone, I'll also share a personal story about how I almost spent a fortune in a vending machine, and live to tell the tale. The 1985 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, normally, Philly didn't bother putting a mint mark on pennies, so the absence of a mark is completely normal. But here's where it gets interesting. Most 1985 pennies are worth, well, a penny. Maybe 2 cents if you're feeling generous. But a tiny fraction of them have unusual qualities that make collectors whip out their checkbooks. One of the most valuable factors is an error called a double die. This happens when the coin's design gets struck twice but slightly out of alignment. It leaves a sort of ghost image behind, especially on the date, the word liberty, and that famous motto "In God We Trust." Another key factor is the condition. If you've got one that looks like it was minted yesterday, with that brilliant red luster, you might be sitting on a jackpot. Collectors pay enormous premiums for coins graded mint state 65 and higher. First, grab a magnifying glass. This isn't the time to squint and guess. Look carefully at the date and lettering. If you see any doubling or blurriness that looks out of place, that's your first clue. Second, check the coin's surfaces. No scratches, no nicks, no smudges from that time it was stuck to a wad of gum in your car cup holder. Third, you'll want to weigh it. Some 1985 pennies were struck on copper planchets left over from earlier years instead of the copper-plated zinc they were supposed to use. These weigh about 3.1 grams rather than the usual 2.5. A scale that measures to 1/10 of a gram will help you figure it out. Fourth, if it looks promising, get it professionally graded. Yes, it costs a little, but think of it as an investment. The grading company will certify its authenticity and condition. Well, it's all about rarity and demand. There are thousands of coin collectors who want the cleanest examples of every date and variety. When you combine scarcity with pristine condition and historical interest, you get those sky-high prices. Imagine sitting at an auction watching your penny sell for more than the cost of your house. That's not fiction, it's happened. In 2023, a gem-quality 1985 no-mint mark penny with a dramatic double die error sold for over $1 million. Now let's switch gears for a minute. I promised you a personal story. A while back, I was at the laundromat with a bag of quarters and pennies, trying to get the week's mountain of socks washed. I was half awake, feeding coins into the machine, when I noticed a penny that looked different. The lettering seemed doubled, and it had a nice coppery shine. But I was in a hurry, so I nearly tossed it into the vending machine to buy a bag of pretzels. Thankfully, something in my brain said, "Hey dummy, check that again." Long story short, I took it home, looked it up, and it turned out to be a double die penny from the early 80s, not quite $1 million coin, but worth several $100s. If I'd fed it into that snack machine, it would have been gone forever, all for a stale pretzel. And now, let's dive deeper into what makes this 1985 penny so unique. Error coins are like the misfit toys of the collecting world, flawed but fascinating. The 1985 no-mint mark penny has several known varieties, where part of the design is missing because the blank was misaligned. Coins missing a curved chunk, raised lines that look like lightning bolts across the coin. Collectors will pay a premium for all of these, especially if the coin is in good condition. Right now, the top price recorded for a flawless 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln cent with an impressive double die error is around $1.2 million. Even mid-range specimens can bring in thousands. The market for error coins has been strong over the past decade. As more people get interested in coin collecting, demand keeps going up. And with fewer pristine coins surviving, that demand only drives prices higher. Imagine walking into a coin shop with your humble penny and walking out with a check big enough to pay off your debts or put your kids through college. Start with your spare change. Most people overlook pennies because they think they're worthless. But that's exactly why treasures still hide there. Next, check rolls of coins from your bank. For the cost of a few dollars, you can search through hundreds of coins. If you find something special, you just turn pocket change into a fortune. Finally, go to garage sales, flea markets, and estate sales. You'd be surprised how often people sell jars of coins without realizing what they have. Searching for valuable coins takes patience. You'll look through thousands of pennies that are perfectly ordinary. But every so often, you'll get that rush of adrenaline when you see something unusual. Make it a family project. Get your kids or grandkids involved. They've got sharp eyes and endless curiosity. Keep your workspace organized. A good lamp and a magnifier are your best friends. Celebrate the small finds. Even a penny worth $10 is a great win. The 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny isn't just a coin. It's a symbol that sometimes the ordinary things in life hide extraordinary value. So before you dump that handful of change into the Coinstar machine or spend it on impulse buys, take a moment. Look carefully. Because that humble penny in your pocket could be worth more than you ever dreamed. And if you found today's video helpful, entertaining, or just a little bit mind-blowing, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'll be here every week with more tips on spotting valuable coins, strategies to build your collection, and stories that will make you laugh and maybe inspire you to take a second look at the change rattling around in your couch cushions. Hey there, fellow treasure hunters. Let me ask you something. What if I told you there's a tiny brown penny hiding in your old coin jar that could be worth more than a beachfront vacation home? Yep, you heard me right. We're talking about the 1952 sweet penny, a humble little copper coin that could fetch you a staggering $1.3 million if you hit the jackpot with the right condition and rarity combo. Stick around because today we're going deep into everything you need to know to spot one, grade one, and maybe, just maybe, cash in on one. And trust me, I've got a story to share that'll make you think twice before tossing that old penny in the parking meter. Grab your magnifying glass, pour yourself a cup of coffee, or something stronger if you're feeling fancy, and let's uncover how this 1952 sweet penny turned into a millionaire's ticket. In 1952, the San Francisco Mint struck over 137 million Lincoln cents. Now, you might be thinking, that's a lot of pennies. And you'd be right. But here's the kicker, most of them got spent, scratched, dinged, and generally beat to oblivion over the decades, and only a microscopic fraction survived in pristine condition. We're talking about pennies that look like they just left the mint yesterday, shiny, crisp, perfect. Those are the ones collectors will pay insane money for, and when I say insane, I mean $1.3 million in the current high-end market for the finest known specimens with virtually flawless surfaces and strong, clear strikes. First, check for that little S mint mark right under the date. That S stands for San Francisco Mint. No S, no $1 million. And next, inspect the wheat stalks on the reverse side. The detail should be razor sharp. If you can see every little line in those stalks and Lincoln's jawline looks chiseled like he just walked out of a spa, you might be onto something. Then, look for that gorgeous red copper luster. Original, uncirculated pennies have a rich, almost glowing red tone. The more red, the more valuable. If it looks brown and dull, it's still collectible, but probably not in the stratosphere of value. Let me tell you, coin grading is like a reality show for numismatics, full of drama, heartbreak, and big paydays. Of professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC will assign a grade from 1 to 70. For this penny, you want something in the MS65 to MS67 red category. That's where the real money lies. I once knew a guy named Jerry who thought he struck gold with a 1952 sweet penny he found in his late uncle's tackle box. He sent it in for grading, heart pounding like he'd just won the lottery. It came back in MS-63 brown, still valuable but nowhere near $1,000,000. He still framed that grading certificate and hung it over his fireplace. Speaking of heartbreak, let me share my own little tale. A few years back, I was cleaning out my grandma's attic, looking for old photo albums and maybe some vintage baseball cards. Instead, I found an old cigar box packed with pennies. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest when I spotted a 1952 right on top. I ran downstairs waving it like Charlie holding the golden ticket. I called up my coin dealer buddy. He came over with his little magnifier and his flashlight, looking it over with that serious face they get when they know you're about to be disappointed. Turns out, that penny had been taped into a scrapbook. That adhesive left a big ugly stain across Lincoln's head. The value? About $3, but hey, I framed it anyway. It reminds me that even if your penny isn't worth $1,000,000, the memories sure are. Now, you're probably wondering, is this just hype, or are people really paying 7 figures for this coin? Recent auction records show premium examples of the 1952s in MS-67 red condition selling between $950,000 and $1.30 million. It's not every day one of these comes to auction because collectors hoard them like dragons sitting on gold. But when they do pop up, bidding wars can get fierce. If you're serious about selling, you'll want to get it graded professionally, insure it for an astronomical amount, and probably keep it in a bank vault until it's time to cash out. Polishing your coin is the fastest way to destroy its value. Those tiny scratches? Death sentence for premium grades. Stick to PCGS or NGC. Those are the big names buyers respect. Don't trust just one opinion. You want a few expert eyes to confirm your treasure. Auction houses are your friend. For coins in the $1,000,000 range, you'll want a major auction house like Heritage or Stacksbauer's. They have the reach and reputation to get you top dollar. Let's lighten it up with some trivia you can drop at your next family gathering. In 1952, a loaf of bread cost about 16 cents. Today, this one penny could buy you an entire bakery. If you stacked $1.3 million in pennies, the pile would weigh over 360,000 pounds. That's more than a blue whale. A pristine 1952 sweet penny is rarer than a perfect Babe Ruth rookie card. So next time someone says, it's just a penny, you can smirk and tell them it might be a ticket to early retirement. We've covered the history, how to identify a real gem, how to get it graded, and how to cash it in for the kind of money that could change your life. If you're sitting there thinking, I might have one of those pennies, do yourself a favor, go check that coin jar, the back of your dresser, your grandpa's old toolbox, anywhere a stray penny might have landed, because you never know, the next 1952 sweet penny that sells for $1.3 million might be the one sitting in your house right now. And hey, if you enjoyed this video and want more no-nonsense guides to coins worth big money, plus tips, stories, and the occasional cautionary tale, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you learned something new today, share this video with a friend who loves hunting for treasure, and leave a comment telling us about the coolest coin you've ever found.